In Unit 7, we are looking at proportions, solving proportions, writing proportions, using proportions to apply them to real-world problems. In Unit 7, Part 1, we're looking at two different ways we can solve proportions, and we're going to do some word problems to go along with them. The first thing, though, is just a definition of what a proportion is. It says a proportion is an equation that states two ratios are equal. Okay, so if you look at our example of numbers here, 2/3 is a ratio, and 8/12 is a ratio, and we just have them set equal to each other, which makes it a proportion. Now, you might have done a little bit of this last year, but I don't think you did all that much, so some of this might be new at this point. And then if you look down to the first part where it says solving a proportion using equivalent ratios. It says use equivalent ratios to solve the proportion. So equivalent, again, just means that ratios are equal to each other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite these to start with. So 5/6 equals x over 36. So 5/6 is a ratio. X over 36 is a ratio. We set them equal to each other, it becomes a proportion. Now, the way we're going to look at this is we're going to say 6 times what gives me 36. And I know that 6 times 6 is 36. So I know that I can then do 5 times 6 to figure out what x is. So in this case, x is going to be 30. If you look at the second example, again, I'm going to start by rewriting it. So I have 10 over t equals 90 over 54. I can say 10 times what equals 90, which would be times 9. So then I know that t times 9 is going to give me 54. So I need to think what number times 9 is 54, and I know that's 6. So that's solving proportion using a ratio, or using equivalent ratios. The next way we're going to look at is solving a proportion using algebra. So using algebra is a lot like what we did for solving equations a couple of units ago. I'm going to start by boxing and rewriting. So y over 50 equals 5 over 10. I'm trying to solve for y, so I need to get it by itself. So I'm going to multiply both sides by my denominator, which is 50. My denominator that goes with the variable. So these 50s cancel out, and I just have y. And on this side, I can simplify. So 10 becomes 1. 50 becomes 5 when I divide both of those by 10. And then 5 times 5 is 25. So I know that is my value for y. On number 2, again, I'm going to start by boxing and rewriting. So I have 13 over 2 equals x over 4. I go to the side with the denominator, which is the right side. And I have x on top and 4 on the bottom, so I need to multiply by that denominator. So on the right side, the 4 is clear out, and I'm just left with x. On the left side, I can divide the 2 by 2 and get 1, and the 4 by 2 and get 2. 2 times 13 is 26, so I know x has a value of 26. On the bottom of the first page is where your review problems are for this one. Please make sure you do these. I will be checking these, so please make sure they're done. They're on the bottom of the first page just for spacing reasons. If you flip over the back, we have some word problems. And your directions are just to write and solve a proportion to these word problems. So number 1 says, in 2003, the exchange rate between the United States and Belgium was 140 Belgian francs to 4 US dollars. You have 120 US dollars to exchange. How many Belgian francs can you get in exchange? Okay. So again, a proportion is two ratios set equal to each other. So our first ratio is just going to be our exchange rate, which is 140 francs to 4 US dollars. So I'm going to write that as my first ratio. Then I need an equal sign, and I'll have my second ratio. It says you have 120 US dollars to exchange, so I know 120 goes down here. And it says how many Belgian francs can you get? So that's what I'm looking for, is the Belgian francs. Now I can solve this with equivalent ratios. I can solve it with algebra, whatever you want to do. I'm going to solve it with equivalent ratios. I'm going to say that I know to get from 4 to 120, I'm going to multiply by 30, which means I'm also going to multiply 140 by 30. When I multiply 140 by 30, I wind up with 4,200, and I know those are my Belgian francs. So what I figured out is that 120 US dollars is equivalent to 4,200 Belgian francs. All right, I'll let you guys try number 2, and then of course make sure you do the review problems on the front side also.